there's a couple things that came out today. First up, there's a dev blog, which we'll get to in a second, but there was a tweet from Aaron earlier, which says, we've seen a lot of talk about skins for Venture, and we also want them to have their own set of amazing skins. I can't share too much, but we have a really exciting skin coming out for them in Season 14. We think it's something you're really going to dig. I like Aaron. I like Aaron a lot, and this is probably him wanting to get out up front and actually talk about it because he's seen a lot of people talk about it. But dude, that's like 6 months away for a fucking skin. Like, it's not like new hero, new game mode, right? Like, it's 6 months for a skin. And Venture came out in April. I feel like that's gonna make a lot of people really sad. I don't even want to scroll these comments. I'm sure they're fantastic. There's so much to be said there, but I'm also going to keep it a buck. I personally don't care that much about the skins. I know that that's genuinely what 90% of the player base cares about. Like, really, most, especially casual gamers, love Overwatch and for their art, for their skins. I made a joke on SVB's podcast about how like it's almost become like an endless battle pass simulator, almost like fucking ethical NFTs. The more I think about it, the more it feels like it's becoming true. And so like I always cared more about gameplay than skins, at least for myself personally. That being said though, I still think that they shouldn't be neglected. Like, it's really sad to see. Not great news to start. So I heard this is really good though. Let's turn it around with the director's take, competitive updates for season 12 by Gavin Winter. Hey all, Gavin Winter here from the systems team. For all you guys all know Gavin, he pops on my channel all the time. You've probably learned at this point that I'm talking. I'm explaining topics in more detail than anyone asked for it, and the tone will be slightly irrelevant. You can expect more of that in today's director's take. We're off to a hot start. In Season 9, we talked about how we wanted to make each new competitive year a big event for the game. We also mentioned that our mid-year patches would be bigger than others too. Over the past several months, our Versus player experience and features team have built several systems that are designed to improve our core gameplay experience in Season 12. Updates to avoid his teammate. So this is the thing that was originally shown at BlizzCon. Let's talk about a feel-good feature everyone will be excited about. Avoiding more players we don't like. We talked about this feature in a developer update earlier this year, but we used that time to push this feature even more since then. The system now features 15 avoid slots, with 2 different types of slots making up those 15. You have 3 pinned avoid slots that allow you to permanently avoid a player. Unlike our old avoid slots, these pinned slots never time out. The other 12 recent avoid slots time out after 7 days like our previous system. They also use a priority system that takes many factors into account when determining whether an avoided player can be placed in a match with you. Okay, so I see this going one of 2 ways. One, there are going to be certain people that end up on the pinned list and never come off of it. This is both good and bad. It's good because, especially if you're like a streamer or someone like who harasses you in games, right? You legitimately will never have to have them on your team again, which is great. That's awesome, as long as they're not on an alt account. But 90% of the time they have alt accounts. The bad news is I could definitely see players getting targeted with this, like players that aren't liked, let's say like one tricks, right? Like certain one tricks, they're like, oh, this is a notorious one trick streamer or one trick player, right? Then they will probably end up on people's pinned and then they won't move. What goes beyond that is having 15 slots. I guess it depends on how powerful those slots end up being. Like if they actually are true avoid, like you cannot get them, versus like it will try its best to not put you on their team. So let's keep reading. For most of our players, these recent avoid slot functions the same as our previous avoid slots, effectively always preventing these players from being placed in your match. So for most of our players is the key there. That's like bronze through probably high diamond, maybe low masters, give or take. It is important to note that it's still possible to get players in recent avoid slots in your matches though. This can happen when you're at a very high rank or you're in lower population regions during off hours. As queue time increases, we will slowly begin ignoring players at the bottom of the recent list. You can reset the duration of each player on the recent list individually, sending them back to the top of the recent list. Wow, that's interesting. That's cool. I didn't know that that'd be a thing. The new system also automatically replaces the player with the shortest duration on your recent list if the list is full, preventing you from having to micromanage the list. Introducing competitive drives. Okay, hang on, before we go to competitive drives, that's actually really cool. So one of the most annoying things about avoiding people, which I don't avoid people very often, to be honest, but I know people that are very adamant about min-maxing their avoids. Like, you constantly have them open their screen and like, okay, how long has this person played? Like, okay, I bumped into them 2 hours ago, I haven't seen them since then, they probably got offline, okay, I can remove them now, and then like I'll put this person on, and like they would constantly like be playing like this game of like trying to figure out who's going where. So you won't have to deal with that, which is kind of interesting. Introducing competitive drives. A drive is a new type of competitive event. Will run for the first time this season. Our first drive will start near the end of the season and will take place over a weekend. During that time, every match you play in competitive play role queue is a chance to earn new rewards. Whoa. When you win matches, you'll earn drive score and progress towards the next checkpoint. Each checkpoint has a reward. Some are big payouts of competitive points, but the others are an all-new type of reward for Overwatch 2 that we call signatures. They frame your battle tag with a unique visual backing that will make your accomplishments stand out until our next drive. Here are some examples. Someone out there is going to say, wait a minute, isn't this just borders? To that, 1, you're funny. I see it. 2, these actually do look cool though. I'm not going to lie. They make me think of like, if you've ever seen Apex streamers, there used to be a lot of Apex streamers that would get like custom artists to make overlays for their stream. Yo, Rigatoni, thank you for the 5 gifties. I appreciate it. Border Flourish. I swear to God, don't. Border Flourishes. If you don't know what it's talking about, basically they would get artists to make overlays for their stream that would outline like their health bar, and like it would show like it would cover, like it would make a decoration around it, but like it would leave the parts open that are like useful information like health and, you know, shields and what helmet they have and stuff like that. This kind of looks like that. It like looks like it's almost like dressing up your battle tag, or your battle tag, I guess, which is cool. Muma has one. I don't remember off the top of my head. Ski has one too. Yeah, I've seen the people do it in Overwatch too, but I feel like Apex's stood out a lot. Oh, so here's more photos of what they look like. So your battle tag will be up here. In-game, this in-game one is what I think will look really good. Oh, it even shows in the play of the game. Oh, that's cool. Resetting the ranks. Okay, so before I go any further, I think stuff like this is really cool because Overwatch is a game that I think is struggling really hard in multiple departments. And one of those departments is, how do you make new content that is original but also makes sense for the game? And you can only put out heroes so fast. You can only put out maps so fast. You can only do balance patches every so often. You can only do skins every so often, right? Stuff like this, little stuff, like stuff to look forward to, little events, micro events per se, that give you rewards for things that people are actually interested in, such as like the emerald/gold weapons. For me personally, emerald still makes sense. Like, I like emerald like as an ability to unlock it. Am I crazy about emerald? No, but I know a lot of people still love gold weapons, and like people want a way to earn more competitive points, and a lot of people are also afraid of ranked. So like this is like a great opportunity where you can kind of mid-max both, where it's like you don't normally like to play ranked, but you want competitive points, and there's also this cool event where if you win a bunch of games, you'll get more competitive points. So it's like you can kind of justify being like, oh, I'll play more, like, okay, like, you know, it's worth it. Like, I'll get even more points this weekend. We'll play. And that weekend was going to be a glorious shit fest. I agree, but it's going to be a fun shit fest for nobody because everyone's just going to complain about their teammates. However, though, is it still a good thing? I think it's a good thing. Resetting the ranks. The start of Season 12, there will be a soft ranked reset like the one we deployed in Season 9. I'm going to read the whole thing before I say anything because I have questions. This means we will be decaying everyone's rank and moving all ranks closer to the average rank. So basically, taking the top, taking the bottom. We think that whenever, we think that whenever we make bigger gameplay changes like the ones discussed in this blog, a whole new game mode like Clash, and hero balance changes it makes sense to enable placements and give players a chance to push to a new career high. Yeah, that makes sense. I like that line of logic. I guess, I don't know if I'd say Clash is really like a big one though. I mean, I guess the balance depending on what it is though, but we don't know what it is, so that still remains to be seen. Rank resets are also the only time where we can redefine the threshold of our ranks. And while we are much happier with the rank distribution after Season 9, there's still some work we wanted to do. We wanted Champion to be a very prestigious rank, but unfortunately Champion 1 was almost impossible to achieve. Champion, Grandmaster, and Master all had fewer players than we think they should. So we've remodeled our target rank distribution in our highest ranks. We also still had a few too many players in our lowest ranks, so the distribution has changed a bit too. Most of our highest and lowest ranked players will find themselves achieving new peaks after this reset, but the combination of techniques we've been using in the reset gives everyone an opportunity to prove they're higher ranked than they've ever been. So this is actually very smart, and I agree with it. There was definitely a push, like a very hard push down on Season 9, where like even to this day, top 500 in like tank finishes the season in like mid-masters, right? That was never really the case. Even in Season 8, like it would still always be like GM3, right? And there's like still a lot of really good players that hang out in like low GM, high masters. I haven't really played much rank the last couple seasons. I'm gonna be honest. I just haven't had the motivation. But this sounds like it's gonna be a nice motivation boost. I do think a lot of players though shy away from rank resets because they get really demoralized when, let's say, they're plat and then they hop on and then they're silver and then they're losing a game with silver players against silver players, like, my teammates are terrible, they're all fucking silver, you know? Sally, it's always really hard to predict exactly how rank distributions will play out once players start playing. We were just a bit off in Season 9. That makes sense. I'm assuming the math on that kind of stuff is extremely difficult. So my only thing is there's probably gonna be a lot of people that are gonna be upset that their rank got reset down, although it sounds like everyone's gonna get kind of pushed back upwards a little bit. So I don't think many people are going to place lower overall, like maybe in the first placement, but then like after a couple wins, they'll probably go back up. I hope it's not a general boost. Yeah, but like even, okay, like math dictates even if it was a general boost, that wouldn't really mean anything because everyone goes up. So like, let's say you're a silver player and all of a sudden overnight you became a plat player. So does all the silver players. All the plat players would become like higher above you, right? So like the curve would change. Like, you would still be playing with the same caliber of players, you would just have a different funny symbol next to your name. So like, I understand you, but like your concern isn't actually as scary as you think it is, because these hypothetical situations of these silver players all boosting and getting into your games, like if you're plat, isn't gonna happen, because in that scenario, if they were silver, got boosted to plat, you and plat would get boosted higher. The curve would still push you along. You know what I mean? Everyone's gonna get accused of being boosted. I mean, obviously that happens all the time because people are fucking stupid. But like, this also, there was like pro player, the top 10 leaderboard on each role wasn't even filled with Champion 5 players. So like, the highest rank in the game of Champion 1, we didn't even know, like there was like people were like mid-maxing and like doing everything they could to try to get as high up as they could as possible, like like new accounts, playing with friends, playing at different hours, you know what I mean? And like they still couldn't get there. So there should be players in Champion 1. There should be pro players in Champion 1, right? And then Champion 2, 3, 4, 5, and like work its way down. But like at this current moment, that didn't even end up that's not what happened. I think it's unironically just people being afraid of things and just like screaming out buzzwords, and just the math on our part really about the highest ranks. Yeah, and I think it sounds like it's only the highest ranks that are really going to be affected by this, and the lowest ranks like bronze. Like there's too many like really low bronze players, and there's too many or too few really high champion GM level players. So, and even masters apparently. Anyways, let's continue. Introducing wave respawn. Next up, we're removing the group respawn feature and replacing it with a feature we like a lot more. But first, we have some explaining to do. You remember when, you might remember from Season 7, the goal of group respawn was to reduce the occurrences of one-sided matches. Thanks to the amazing efforts of our data analysis, we've learned that a lot about one-sided matches since Season 7, and we have some good news to share. Before group respawn, after group respawn. Quick play one-sided match rates by skill group. Approximate skill rating MMR equivalent. So bronze didn't have much of an effect. Silver had a pretty good amount. Gold had a really good amount. Plat, that's crazy. Diamond, that's even more insane. Master, that's even more insane, and GM had the highest amount affected by group respawn. You would think the little bronzies were the people that would benefit the most from group respawn, but it's actually the GM players. That's what we assumed, and we were wrong. Holy shit. GMs don't know how to play the game. No, you know what it is? GM players want to go out and make plays constantly. They don't worry about having to play with their team at all times. So they'll go stick their heads out and go like do shit. And especially too in quick play though, I do think people, especially at the highest ranks, when you play quick play, they don't take it as serious. Quick play has distortions. If someone is in GM and quick play, they're like memeing or somewhat. Yeah, that's kind of what I think too. This like kind of like honestly forces them to play the game properly. Cause like you normally just kind of, you know, meme it a little bit and just have a good time. But like they're actually forced to play the game properly, which is kind of crazy. Group respawn made a bigger difference in reducing one-sided matches than any change we've ever made. While quick play doesn't have visible ranks, we still use MMR to try to make the best matches we can. And that lets us see which ranks benefited the most from this system. We were really surprised to learn that group respawn had the biggest impact at Champion and Grandmaster and the lowest impact in Bronze. The system still made significant difference at all ranks though. It really did. That is actually insane. So those things were great, but the biggest problem with group respawn was how dying first often led to getting buried by a long sequence of teammates dying in a row, making your respawn time a lot longer. This meant that respawn times were generally shorter, but it also meant that yours was longer. Wave respawn fixes that by ensuring your respawn time will always be shorter than the default if another hero was already dead. I want to read that one more time. Wave respawn, okay, this means that respawn times were generally shorter, but it also meant that yours was longer. Wave respawn fixes that by ensuring your respawn time will always be shorter than the default if another hero was already dead. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. I understand. You might be familiar with wave respawn systems in other games, but here's exactly what's different about respawning in Season 12 for quick and competitive play. Default respawn time increased from 10 to 12 seconds. Overtime respawn time increased from 13 to 14 seconds. Wave respawn time is disabled in overtime. Overtime respawn time is not increased in Flashpoint. Whoa. When the first hero on a team dies, they start a new wave for their team. Any hero that dies within 6 seconds of a wave starts joining that wave. A hero joining a wave will respawn at the same exact time as the hero that started the wave. This means that the respawn time of heroes joining the wave can be as long as 12 seconds if they died at the same time as the first hero, or as short as 6 seconds if they catch the end of the wave. If a hero starts a wave and no other hero has joined the wave, if a hero starts a wave and no other hero has joined the wave, when the respawn time reaches 6 seconds remaining, we subtract 2 seconds from their respawn time. This means that they respawn in 10 seconds, our default respawn time before Season 12. Wave respawn is also disabled when the payload is near the end of the track in Escort and Hybrid. The same time as our existing anti-stall system activates. This is so fucking elaborate. So basically, if you die first, 12-second respawn, not in overtime. If somebody dies after you, as long as it's within the next 6 seconds, they will spawn at the exact same time as the first guy who died. If you die beyond the 6 seconds, so let's say someone died 12 seconds, they have a respawn, and then when your timer is at 4 seconds, somebody else dies. They don't join you in the respawn. They get their own respawn timer, but instead of being at 12 seconds, it's at 10 seconds. You missed the second paragraph after the graph. Did I? Grouping up with your team reduces the chance of being on a losing one-sided match considerably. We believe it's... Did I actually? Okay. Grouping up with your team reduces the chance of being on the losing side of one-sided match considerably. We believe it reduces the chance so much that helping our highest skill players do it slightly more often had the highest impact. The system also made it much harder for that random on your team to throw your games by constantly attacking alone on repeat. Oh, interesting. RIP Retro? Nah, he can leave it out of order. I don't care. So, I wanted to get to this part anyways. This was the interesting stuff to me. I didn't really care about the old system because I literally explained it to you guys. So I wanted to jump, and I guess I just straight up did. I didn't even realize I did. Anyways, though, this is going to get really complicated when you start talking about overtime and you also start talking about the end of hybrid and the end of escort. Even though the default respawn time has gone up, we expect respawn times to be lower on average in Season 12 because respawning alone is the same as before, and many heroes will be respawning in less than 10 seconds with their teammates. We like how these changes have led to more team fights in our playtests, and we're excited about fewer one-sided matches in competitive play. Most importantly, though, we'll be listening to your feedback and monitoring the results of these changes to determine how we might improve upon respawning further in the future. For OT, things get much simpler. This is all off. The default respawn time is 14 seconds now in overtime. It is probably more simple than I'm thinking about it to be, because like I would think about, like I always, whenever somebody dies, try to keep track of how fast they're going to be coming back. And in OT, that's even more important, right? Because like if you kill someone at the start of OT and you know they had ult, like it's like a Zen with Trank, right? You're like, we need to kill them before the Zen comes back. I guess that technically doesn't change. So I just do what I currently have already done. But if someone was to more technically think about it, they might have a harder time with it. Update for Flashpoint. OT has been 13 for most of Overwatch's life, including Overwatch 1. It's just slightly longer to differentiate. Oh. So overtime is slightly longer. Update for Flashpoint. Finally, we noticed walking sims are a lot less popular these days. So we've added a speed boost to all spawn exits in Flashpoint. What? Think of these like the boost pads in your favorite party racing game. Passing through them will give you a significant short-term speed boost that will help you get back to the point faster, so you'll be spending more time fighting and less time walking. Dealing damage or taking damage will immediately remove this buff, so even if combat occurs near the spawn rooms, this speed buff won't have much of an impact. This boost also won't let you break the 75% increased movement speed cap, so if your hero has a speed boost effect, the sweatiest way you can use it is to wait for the spawn door boost to wear off slightly first. If you stuck around through all my absurdity, thanks for reading, and thanks for playing Overwatch 2. Let's make a great game. Damn, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. So, update to Flashpoint. There's going to be boost pads on the ground to make you get back faster, which is nice. The spawn thing, I don't think is... Okay, so one last question. The avoid list thing, I think, is going to be a shit show in my own personal opinion, but I'm down for the chaos. Overall, though, looks pretty good. This is obviously a little bit more technical than some of the other stuff that we talk about normally, but it looks good. Looks good. So, good blog. Thank you for doing this. Thanks for reading it. I love them when these are a little more technical.